to help correct me here as he's just walked in. They got sacked twice to start the 2-minute drive. So you're backed up. It was like 3rd and 17. Got some of it back. It was 4th and 8. And Cam Ward, with pressure in his face, just tosses it right down the seam. Carnell Tate in double coverage hauls it in on the run. I think that was probably the best connection I've seen. Like, he had the 65-yard touchdown a couple of weeks ago from Ward to Tate, but in terms of the degree of difficulty and the moment it being 4th down, that was one of the best plays I've seen from the Titans offense so far in training camp.
Wow. Pressure makes diamonds, as they say. Now, the throw, was it unorthodox, where it was like not off the back foot, but was it a cool, calm, collected throw?
No, I mean, for being 4th down, it was the pocket broke down pretty quickly. I will say, we've talked a lot about Fernando Carmona and some of the good things that he's done. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was not a good day for Fernando Carmona. On that 4th down play, Jeffrey Simmons just forklifted him backwards, and Cam had to step up with pressure in his face and uncorked a beautiful ball. And it was the same feeling I had as the 65-yard touchdown 2 weeks ago of when he let it go, I thought he overthrew him. And Carnell Tate just has this great makeup speed of being able, even with the 2 defenders on each hip, just being able to go make a play. He did take the hit from Kevin Winston at the end of it and still held on.
Wow. Hey, good on Cam for that. I would say that shows a little bit of maturity in some cases. You know, everybody has that question mark after the San Francisco preseason game 1, but I think if he's showing strides of improvement in these, times at the training facility, I think that's promising.
I'm not a huge practice stats guy.
Sure.
Like, I don't think, I feel like it's practice. You don't really know what those stats mean. But Jim Wyatt did tweet since the 49ers game, or he put this in his article, Cam Ward is 43 of 53 throwing the football in practice the last 2. So for whatever that's worth, he's been a little bit more accurate. Yesterday, if I had to pick the main problem for Cam Ward on some of the plays he got in trouble, just was holding on to the ball too long. The pressure was constant. Like, I don't want to take anything away from what the defensive front did. They made things difficult on him. He didn't have a ton of time, but there were some plays where it felt like the ball should have come out and he held on to it and he would have been sacked. So that was the main issue yesterday. I would say up and down day for Cam Ward yesterday in practice.
That's my biggest worry for a quarterback like Cam Ward going into year 2. Obviously, you're learning kind of somewhat of a new system with Brian Daboll, the new verbiage. I'm just worried if he gets in his own head, meaning, if he holds on to the ball too long, then goes into the next week of like, my footwork's a bit off, just try not to, and I think he's already understanding of all that.
Yeah.
But just don't get too in your head with it, because then that falls in the same suit of like a Will Levis.
Yeah, it was strange to see, because the best plays he made yesterday outside of that 4th down play, but like kind of in the normal rhythm of the offense, he was getting the ball out fast. He had a quick throw over the middle of Carnell Tate, a quick throw to the outside to Wan'Dale Robinson, accurate, on time, moving the football. But then it's just like every other play, it felt like, and maybe guys just weren't getting open, but it did seem like it slowed down a little bit at times yesterday. So I would say it was a solid day for Cam Ward. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't have any like catastrophic plays where you're like, what are you doing? But also outside of the one throw on 4th down in the 2-minute drill, nothing super special from Cam Ward yesterday, which it's going to happen. I mean, you're going to go through the waves of practices.
Yeah, and what you mentioned earlier about Jim Wyatt with the stats in practice, I'm with you. I don't take too much, value into that, because again, you're learning new things and you're trying certain things out. And I heard Robert Saleh yesterday in his press conference say, we had a certain drive of how many plays. We're trying to work out a script for that. And I mean, that makes total sense. So, I mean, you could go, 23 for 27 for 120 yards.
Yeah.
Good for you. I mean, you can go grab yourself a cookie after practice, but I don't care.
Right. I'm not a big practice stats guy. Like, interceptions, I think, is the one thing you can take, because it's a big play. It's a turnover worthy play. But like touchdowns, what was the situation? Were you just running red zone? Like, yeah, you should be scoring touchdowns in the red zone. If you don't score touchdowns, were you going full length of the field the entire time? It's tougher to score touchdowns that way. So I do think that stats, you can take some things from them in practice, but not a ton. I would say it's very low on the importance scale for me, the completion percentage and the yards and touchdowns in practice and all that.
Because if you're Robert Saleh, you're probably telling your, defense, like, hey, show me this front with, just a Mike linebacker blitzing in the A gap or B gap, because then that dictates a little bit of how he wants his offensive line to react, how Brian Daboll wants to see a certain front. Because if you're preparing for another team, that's how you scout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all a skewed metric. It's a skewed way of kind of evaluating the numbers when it comes to the box score.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the film and practice is going to matter much more when they go back and evaluate what he did. I think that's what they're not going to say. Oh, well, you completed 43 of 53 over the last 2. Great job. Yeah. I thought he was solid yesterday. Not great, not bad. It's going to happen. Connor, we'll get to you when we start talking some soccer and golf.
Thanks. That's all I'm good for, apparently.
What were your impressions from practice yesterday? I know you were out there.
A lot of the things along the same lines you said. I thought pressure was great. I thought the offensive line didn't hold up as well as I would have expected them to, but they've been decently solid all camp, so I'm willing to give them the pass. Defensive line was probably the highlight of the day, especially Jeffrey Simmons had a couple of would-be sacks on Cam Ward. And I think you put it perfectly with Cam Ward. The thing that's bothered me the most is his holding on to the ball too long and overall his processing. Some of the throws that he decides to make, I think he's trying to squeeze it into a small hole that's just not there, or he's over analyzing a situation where all you got to do is get the ball out quick and make a play on it. So that was my main takeaway. And apparently the main takeaway of most of the nation is Will Levis is not good. Some people seem to disagree with me on that. That's fine, but don't come on my show and insult my intelligence. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I mean, the Levis, again, yesterday he got more reps when Mitch Trubisky checked out, and we can talk about that in a little bit, but it's not like he didn't really step up all that much. The best play that he had was more of a play by Bryce Oliver going up and getting a 50-50 ball. So he was fine, but nothing super special from Will Levis either. We did get a text here. Let's get to 2 texts quickly. 3251 says, is that a throw he would make knowing he is about to get hit in game? There's no way to know, right? When he's not actually getting hit. It's not like Jeff was free, if I'm remembering correctly. Like Carmona still was between him and Cam, but there just wasn't anywhere for him to step up because Carmona was in his lap. I mean, you look back at the Texans game last year where Danielle Hunter just lit Cam up and he still dropped a dime to Chig. I don't think Cam has a problem throwing and standing in the pocket knowing he's going to get hit. So I would say yes, but there's no way to know when you're not in a live game setting.
Yeah, it is very tough to dictate how you can equate that to, like you said, a live game. It is tough because, like I said before, you're kind of scripting the defense to show different fronts and how you scout your upcoming opponent. So it doesn't really give you the true indication of how you're going to react to that normally.
Yeah. Again, it's like practice. It shows some things. It doesn't show all things. That's Connor and I were talking about that, the TD quote. So overall, back and forth day of practice yesterday. I would say the defense won overall, but there were good moments from the offense. Another quick text here, and we can get to this coming up next. 7410 says, talk about Blake Bedingfield's piece on Cam Ward. That's been a big topic around here about the piece on paulkuharsky.com that basically said Ward would be better off turning into a Brock Purdy-like player than trying to be Patrick Mahomes. And we can get into that. I know Joe was pushing back hard on game manager being a negative term about a quarterback. We can talk about that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Again, Andrew Allegretta going to join us at 11 a.m. We'll talk all things Vanderbilt gearing up for the Commodores 2026 season. Opens against Austin Peay on September 5th. But lots of Titans talk to start off the show. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Keep up with training camp with 102.5 The Game for the latest updates, player interviews, and more as we get you prepped for the upcoming football season. Coverage of training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Perman Energy, and the Music City Kickoff Game. We will be back out at training camp tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to noon. Corey Curtis will join us live out there, which will be fun. And it's now open to the fans, I saw. They opened up tomorrow's practice to the fans, which, again, just inside baseball, makes things so much easier for me because I am trying to watch practice and talk at the same time. It's a lot easier when I can actually react to what's going on the field instead of having to be like, oh, I can't say anything until practice is over.
You hear the big oohs and ahs.
Right.
That helps everything.
Right. And it also, the last hour of the show kind of writes itself. You just talk about what's going on the field. So excited for that 9 a.m. tomorrow out at Titans training camp. Titans practice yesterday. And the big story, at least on most of our shows, I heard Robbie and Joe talk about it this morning. I heard DVD with Connor talk about this yesterday. Blake Bedingfield at paulkuharski.com. If you haven't checked this out, you should. He wrote about what Cam Ward needs to become. And the main excerpt here that has been talked about is this sentence: Ward would be better off becoming a Brock Purdy instead of Patrick Mahomes. Before we get into that part of it, your thoughts. We were talking with Joe Rexroad because he wanted to make the point that calling a player a game manager isn't an insult. It's a stylistic comment, not a quality comment about a player. What are your thoughts on the word game manager, which I know are a little bit taboo around the NFL?
Yeah, I don't have much of an issue with calling a quarterback a game manager per se, because let's be honest. At the beginning of Brock Purdy's career, he was a game manager. He wasn't a perennial quarterback. He's developed into being a really good quarterback, but being a 7th round pick, at the time you had Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. You still have some of those players, Deebo Samuel, Brendan Ayuk in their prime. Yes, he is a quarterback. He has to facilitate the football. But at the same time, I think managing the clock, and you give a little credit to Kyle Shanahan with that as well.
Yeah, I think game manager has gotten such a negative connotation. So I kind of agree with the texters on saying you don't want to call Tom Brady or Peyton Manning a game manager because they obviously were much more than just managing the game. They were elite. They were precise. They were surgical with the way they were able to execute an offense. So game manager, I think, has a negative connotation. I think you could call them a distributor. You could call them, I heard them say, somebody suggested field general. It's a style that they play. They're not going to be throwing across their body. They're not going to be running around in the pocket, evading defenders and making throws on the run. Yeah. That was not Tom Brady's game. That was not Peyton Manning's game. That was not Drew Brees' game. But they were just as effective because of the accuracy, the processing, the precision that they played with. So I understand what Joe's saying, that stylistically, Cam Ward doesn't seem to be on that end, which would be the game manager end. I've been saying all offseason, that's what Cam Ward needs to be better at. Now, I don't necessarily agree with he should aspire to be Brock Purdy, because part of what makes Cam Ward is the ability to make the backyard football, off-platform plays that other quarterbacks can't make. But the biggest flaw in his game is he's not good enough of a game manager where he's able to move the ball down the field, make the right read at the right time, take what's given to him. That's the part of his game he needs to improve. So I agree with the sentiment from Blake Bedingfield, but I also would say don't take the Cam Ward out of Cam Ward. You just have to rein it in and channel it in the right way.
Yeah, there was a comment made last week. I think it might have been Joe Dubin talking about Brian Daboll and how when Brian Callahan was here, I know it was with you, I believe, trying to mold him into a Joe Burrow-like quarterback. You can't really mold a guy like Cam Ward into a Joe Burrow-style quarterback.
Yeah.
Cam Ward, like you said, he's a quarterback of his own in some cases. He loves those unorthodox throws, those backyard football-style plays. You can't really mold him into that. Now you can, like you said, teach him into being a better game manager, and that is, understanding the clock, understanding the down and distance. I think when you have a guy like Brian Daboll, who you bring in as a offensive coordinator, you kind of rely on him a lot as to pick the right call for the down and distance. You pick the right call for those, and it's up to Cam Ward to capitalize on those opportunities. If he can't, then that's where there's the disconnect.
Yeah, right. and 8566 makes a good point here of like Brock Purdy, a check down game manager. That narrative is so dumb and couldn't be farther from the truth. That's the connotation of game manager is everyone assumes it's like, oh, you're just checking the ball down. Game managers aren't just throwing drags and screens the entire time. Like, it means you are running the offense the way it should be run. There may not be anything flashy about it. Like with Brock Purdy, you don't think of highlight reel plays. He pushes the ball down the field. Tom Brady pushed the ball down the field. There's got to be a better way to describe it than game manager and playmaker. And that's what Joe, I think, was struggling with, because I think his thought process is right, but the words don't
match up.
Right. Like maybe you replace playmaker for gunslinger, right? Got Brett Favre-ish type players. Mahomes kind of marries both of them together. He can make the plays, but he also distributes the ball and can manage the game in the right way. Game manager is not the right word. I just don't know if there is a perfect word for it. Distributor is kind of the word that I think of guys not going to go out there and he's not going to wow you. It's not going to be highlight reel Sports Center top 10 throws like you'll see from Caleb Williams or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, you look up at the scoreboard and you scored 38 points and you won the game, right? Like, because he just knew where the ball was supposed to go and he can deliver it accurately. Cam Ward does need more of that, obviously.
Accuracy, game, clock management, I think are the two big places for Cam Ward to develop in. I think we all know that after watching the 49ers game in week 1 of the preseason. But, adding on to that a little bit, you see how a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who we kind of spoke with Joe Rex, or I mentioned him in between the three of us in that conversation, as Rodgers' career has progressed, he has become more of a game manager. Like we saw him with the Jets after his Achilles injury. I mean, the guy's chewing 5 to 6 minutes of the clock. He understands that you run the ball 3 to 4 times, have a bell cow running back. The down and distance is 3rd and 3. You know what you're going to call. Well, he knows that for a fact. It's a 3 to 5 yard out route, and you're going to get the first down with Allen Lazard, and you're going to go upfield. Then the clock continues to chew because you're just getting right across the first down marker, and you still have a lot of yardage to go. Then you go down there and get 3 points when there's like 2 minutes left in the first half.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers and Matthew in Nashville, pretty much as soon as you said that, has said the exact same thing. He's evolved his game. He was more of a playmaker.
Like that Favre.
Right. Yeah. In his early years when they won the Super Bowl, in the MVP years. But as he's lost a little bit of the athleticism, a little bit of the arm strength, I think he's realized he has to rely on more the distributor type game plan that he also can do at a very high level, right? Like, and I think what Blake Bedingfield says is he needs to be more like Brock Purdy than Patrick Mahomes. That has a bad connotation to it because like 7410 says, we could have had a veteran game manager on the free agent market 2 years ago and a couple early round picks. No, Bedingfield is basically saying the pick was a miss. I think it's a better way of putting it is Cam Ward needs to find more of the Brock Purdy in his game than trying to be Patrick Mahomes. You got to find the ability to manage a game and be accurate and have a high completion percentage. That doesn't mean you can't make the crazy plays, because the team might need them on 3rd down and long or in the red zone when you need a touchdown. But you don't need it on every single play. And I think that's what that might be a better way to frame it of Cam Ward needs to find more of the Brock Purdy in his game than trying to be Patrick Mahomes all the time.
Yeah, I would say he needs that pocket passing foundation. I think that's, for me, I would say that's the better way of putting it for a guy like Cam Ward. When you have that foundation of a pocket passing quarterback, then, like you said, the Brock Purdy's of the world, because you don't have to rely on those rolling out of the pocket and seeing what happens after that. Because we all know what happens. It's going to be a loss of 4 or 5 yards or a turnover or something along those lines, because he's not there yet.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in the preseason game on Thursday. Like the 2 plays, the intentional grounding and then the sack that got called back because of the defensive holding. Both those plays, you could see kind of inside the mind of Cam Ward. He was like, all right, I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to go make a play downfield. You got to know when the ship has sailed, or sometimes you just got to say, hey, I'm going to get the ball out quick. Even if it's only 3 or 4 yards, it's better than a sack or an incompletion. Let's just take what I can get. That's what Brian Dable and Robert Saleh have been preaching, and we'll see if they can get through to Cam Ward over the next couple of weeks leading up to the regular season.
Do you think, like, Titans fans would appreciate it more if Cam Ward just throw the ball away. Like if the pocket collapses immediately.
Yes.
I mean, it's an easy answer, right? But at the same time, when you look at Cam Ward, he's probably not thinking that because he doesn't want to lose the opportunity to advance the ball.
Yes, he's a hunter. That's to use the Brian Callahan term from last year of he's trying to hunt big plays downfield, and there is a time and place for that, but it's not the intentional grounding came on first down,
Yeah,
first and 10. It was first and 10. You don't need to hunt on that play. As Brian Dable said, third down, red zone, 2 minute. Those are the pillars of playing quarterback. If you live to see another play on first and 10 and you do the exact same thing you did on second down and long, you get a first down. Wan'Dale Robinson got like 11 yards on that play. You got to just live to see another play when it's not those high leverage situations. Third down, red zone, 2 minute. Just live to see another play and give yourself the opportunity to keep the football and advance it down the field.
Yeah, and also let's bring the run game into this for a quick second. Tony Pollard did a really good job on that first drive, and I think Titans fans, and I would say for myself as well, like I think we're all understanding how valuable Derrick Henry was to this offense.
Yeah,
because it's starting to kind of expose how the quarterback plays developing without a really good running back.
Yeah, I mean Tannehill was very good as a game manager, right? Like Ryan Tannehill wasn't making the backyard football plays. Now, he was an athlete, right? Like he could get out of the pocket, he could run, but it was drop back in the pocket, make your read, throw an accurate ball. That's what Ryan Tannehill did, and he was really good at it when you had Derrick Henry behind you, you had good wide receivers, and you could use the play action to open up those holes over the middle of the field. He was great at it, and it led to the Titans and going to the AFC Championship game, being the number 1 seed in the AFC. Cam Ward needs to find more of that in his game. It's great that he has the playmaking ability, because if you master the game manager ability, the playmaking just adds on to what you can do. But you can't be a great quarterback with only the off-script playmaking ability. The foundation and the base of playing quarterback starts with being a game manager. And that's why I don't think it needs to have as much of a negative connotation. Quarterbacks can do more than be a game manager, but in order to be a good one, you have to manage the game, and you have to be able to take what the defense gives you and throw accurate passes. Cam Ward hasn't shown the ability to consistently do that so far.
100%. And to add on what I mentioned about the running backs, you have to make Tony Pollard in the scouting aspect of it against opposing teams, make him become a threat to defense and say, hey, we have to scout for this guy, because without running the ball up the middle, and you mentioned it a little bit with the play action, you have to be able to establish the run to set up the play action.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, then Cam Ward's going to be doing the unorthodox throws once again from out of the pocket.
Yeah. And that you're right. We saw with the running game being better late in the season, Cam Ward got better. It's funny how that worked out with it. When Tony Pollard started running for 100 yards a game and being a threat, Cam Ward started to play better. We'll see if they can kind of find that formula coming up in 2026. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's quickly go to the phone lines. Dustin in Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Normally I don't, but I sided with Joe this morning, and I'm a very black and white, there's no gray area kind of person, so I looked it up, and Wikipedia has proven Joe and I wrong. In American football, a game manager is a quarterback who, despite pedestrian individual statistics such as passing yards and touchdowns, also maintains low number of mistakes such as interceptions and fumbles. Such a quarterback is not seen as a major factor in the team's wins or their losses. His performance is good enough to not negatively affect the performance of other players on his team, even if he himself does not have the skills to be considered an elite player. Game managers are often benefit from strong defense and rushing offense on their teams. So, there's game manager for you. It's exactly how it's always been said. But as far as definitions go, I was thinking, you always have to start as a game manager. That's where it all starts. You can't be a good quarterback without that A-plus game manager. And that is probably Tom Brady and Peyton Manning's best asset is being able to manage the game and process it in their brain at a slower pace, or a faster pace, but it's slowed down to them, and to everyone else it's sped up. There's that is. But hey, I'm really worried about this team because with everything I'm seeing, there's always this catch-22 of in practice, man, we're balling out. And Carmona looked really good against second and thirds. And then Big Jeff said, hang on, let me eat for a minute in practice. I'm hungry. And I see meat across from me. And, buddy, I'm so worried. Like, man, it's like the secondary was supposed to be like a lock, something we put these pieces in. We're gonna give them our game plan. We're gonna practice with them, and they're gonna be a whole field, okay? And all these things it's just the line's looking rough. Cam doesn't seem, in my opinion, to be able to hit layups, and he can't be accurate against other teams' defenses. I'm super worried about this team. Skeptical. Like I said, I'm waiting till game one against another team, the Jets, that's all their first stringers. But buddy, it ain't looking good to me. If you can practice well against your team, you know their defense and they know your offense, and you're not necessarily hitting each other. There's something wrong there where it doesn't translate against 49ers second and thirds. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dustin. And I think you make a good point about when your team's practicing against each other, you can always have the conversation. All right, was Big Jeff, and I think this one's pretty easy to say, was Big Jeff really great or is Carmona just bad? I think Big Jeff's just great. Like Carmona held his own at times yesterday. I wouldn't say he was horrible, but there were a couple of times I noticed that Big Jeff did just eat his lunch. And it's a rookie right guard going against probably the best defensive tackle in the league. I think you can live with that at times. And reading the definition of game manager, I understand. Game manager has a negative connotation. I would always say like system quarterback has the worst connotation of it, of basically saying the only reason you're good is because of the system that you're in. That was always the joke with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a system quarterback and he wouldn't be good somewhere else. Whatever. Can we say pocket passer? Like, is that a better word to describe it? Like, Tom Brady was an elite pocket passer. He wasn't necessarily a playmaker with what he could do off script.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you could say his clutch ability is incredible. His clutch factor at end of games, closing out games.
Right.
When you need a touchdown the most, he would be able to do that. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think pocket passer would be a perfect
maybe that's what we do. Like pocket passer versus is playing gunslinger. Like, I don't know. Maybe you can be both. It's a spectrum, I think. And some people are 60% gunslinger and 40% pocket passer. Others are 80% pocket passer and 20% I don't know. I think with Cam Ward, he needs to find more of that game manager side of him, because that's been the issue for him, is he has not been able to put the Titans in easy situations to move the chains. They were the second worst team on third down last year. They didn't score a lot of touchdowns when they got down into the red zone. You need to see Cam Ward be better at the easy things. That's what we've been preaching all offseason. That's what Brian Dable said. We heard Bo Hardegree say it in quarterback. Once you figure out the easy stuff, this is going to be boring for you. Cam Ward needs to find the boring side of his game.
Yeah, just be the game warden in this case, and just protect the offense. There you go. Yeah,
there you go.
That's what he needs to do, is just protect the offense and make sure he develops a foundation, which I think was lost last year in his rookie year for sure.
I agree. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also chat with us on our YouTube page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Talking Titans here in hour number one. And the Blake Bedingfield article that has been sweeping the town over the last couple of days. And DVD had him on yesterday. If you missed that, go back and listen to it. It's a very informative interview. But the one quote from his article about Cam Ward that's being put out there everywhere is Ward would be better off becoming a Brock Purdy instead of a Patrick Mahomes. I think Nick Frazier came up with kind of the perfect name that Cam Ward needs to be. Russell Wilson, like early Russell Wilson,
yes.
not the last couple of years.
Not Denver Broncos Russell Wilson.
He doesn't need to be Mr. Unlimited, but
Titans country.
Yeah, Titans country, let's ride. You look at the early 3 or 4 seasons when Seattle was a Super Bowl contender, when they won the Super Bowl, the stats aren't like mind-blowing for Russell Wilson. He was not the reason that they won that Super Bowl, but he was good enough at managing the game, and he was a playmaker when he needed to be. It's not like Russell Wilson was some pocket passer, just stood in there as like a statue and distributed the ball. He could be a playmaker. His second year, that was the year they won the Super Bowl, right? 2013?
Believe so.
2013 season, 2014 Super Bowl, I want to say. They went 13-3. He had a 63% completion percentage, 3,300 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
2014.
2014 season?
Yeah.
Same thing. 63% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
3,400 yards. It's not like he was some MVP. And I know you pick Cam Ward number 1 overall, and that's the expectation, right? It's like you pick him number 1 overall. He needs to be Allen, Mahomes, Jackson. And I think it's still too early to guarantee he's not going to be an elite quarterback, but it's obviously not looking like it's trending that way. But he can be Russell Wilson. Again, those stats I just listed off, it's not like he was an MVP candidate when the Seahawks were contending for and winning Super Bowls, but there was a good defense. He had some playmakers around him, and he was able to distribute the ball effectively and make plays when he needed to win the game. I think that's a great example of what Cam Ward could aspire to be.
Thank you. No, I mean, you look at this defense right now with the Tennessee Titans. On paper, what they made the additions in the offseason, Lante Taylor, Cordell Flott, fingers crossed. I mean, you add guys in the draft, Anthony Hill, you have Cody Barton returning, Cedric Gray. Those are all shaping up to be really good pieces on this defense.
Yeah.
Kind of in resemblance to Seattle, where they had the Legion of Boom and they had a really solid defense. And you wonder if the Titans can kind of get to that point. Because if they do, then it is shaping up to be a Seattle Seahawks vibe in a sense.
Yeah, you've got to build the team around him. And you're right. There are a lot of young pieces on this team that I think you have hope for. But it's about them turning out to be the guys you hope they're going to be. Winston, Hill, Femi, Falk, who else is Marcus Harris, all on the defensive side. On the offensive side, the offensive line. If Carmona and Latham establish themselves as the right side of your line this year and say, hey, those are our starters moving forward, that's huge. It's huge for a young quarterback to have, all right, you got 3 of your guys up front locked in for the next 2 or 3 seasons. Great. You're right. They need to build around Cam Ward and give him a team that he can grow with, I guess is the right way to say. So Cam Ward, there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks around the rest of the roster with the young guys. But the good news is there are a lot of young guys with hope on this Titans team right now.
Yeah, and don't forget about Pat Coogan. Obviously, not a starting role right now, but if he continues to develop through his rookie season, that might be another name you mentioned going into the next offseason.
Right. There's options. It's just about, are they going to develop into the players you drafted them to be? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Quick segment there. We ran a little long the last one. We will wrap up hour number 1 after this, talking Titans. We'll get into some college football in hour number 2. And again, Andrew Allegretta going to join us coming up at 11 to talk Vanderbilt. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Finishing up the first hour. Coming up in hour number 2, we will get into some college football. The AP Top 25 released yesterday. Also, as always with Dr. Crane, got to get his thoughts on NSC after a massive win over Inter Miami on Saturday. So we'll get into that coming up in hour number 2.
That's my thing, pal.
Right. Sorry. Soccer and golf's yours.
How did Scotty do this past weekend, Connor? Pretty good?
Great.
Can you please turn your mic off while we're talking football, please?
I'm sorry. At least it's just me back here and there's no other screaming voices behind me now.
That is true. That is true. Wrapping up on the Titans here, we talked a lot about Cam Ward. One of the headlines that came out of yesterday's practice was injuries. It seems like Carnell Tate was fine after taking the hit from Kevin Winston yesterday. Got up a little bit slow. I thought it looked like he just got the wind knocked out of him, and he did rejoin the wide receivers on the sideline. I think I saw him doing his push-ups after practice ended. So think Carnell Tate is fine. Mitch Trubisky is the injury that is a little bit more concerning. He left at the midway point of practice yesterday. It's a bicep injury that they're looking at right now. We won't really know what's going on with Trubisky until tomorrow, unless somebody reports it before then. What are your thoughts on the backup quarterback situation? If Mitch Trubisky is out for a significant period of time, is Will Levis do you slide him into the backup spot, or do you think the Titans may need to look elsewhere to find somebody to be the number 2?
I think at this point, the Titans would just gamble on having Will Levis as their backup quarterback. In my assumption. I mean, Connor would have more knowledge of this because he's out at practice every day. And that
no,
clip,
I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh.
No, I don't know anything about football.
No, but I'd seen the video you posted yesterday of Will Levis with the passing drill into the nets. I'm just thinking, oh my goodness. But again, some of those throws he had were across body and just trying to throw and challenge yourself. So I don't know. He says he's one of the best 32. I think we all doubt that. But I'll speak for myself on that. But like I just say they gamble with it.
Connor, quickly while we're on Levis, your net video was aggregated by Dove. I don't know if you saw this.
It was aggregated by Dove, ML Football, Sleeper. We're approaching 1 million views.
We love all of them. Yeah, and honestly, he didn't hit any of the pockets, but when I saw the caption from Dove, which was like Will Levis looking atrocious throwing into a net, I thought it was going to be way worse. Like it wasn't good, but it wasn't
pretty bad.
Like it wasn't like that. I saw a video of Levis doing the net drills from maybe 2 weeks ago, beginning of camp, where he just missed the entire apparatus completely. Like not just the pocket, he missed the entire net. Like that one was horrible. He at least made contact with the strike zone.
This is what I ranted about. I cut my pipe bomb on this yesterday. We need to stop the Levengers, as I'm calling them.
Okay.
The Levis defenders.
Yeah.
There are a group of people that just hate everything Cam Ward does, and I guess they're, what are they called? The Ward are you doings, as Robbie and Joe called them. I'm calling the Levis defenders the Levengers, who think Will Levis didn't get a fair shot and he deserves a real chance with a real staff. And maybe that's true, but it's not going to be here. You don't spend the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback just to send him back to the bench and use your second round guy you already gave an opportunity.
Right. Like there's a difference between high school football, for example, where it's like, yeah, you may think one guy's going to be your starting quarterback, but it's like you never know. They're just high schoolers. Here, Cam Ward, you've drafted him first overall. And by the way, most importantly, it's very obvious watching practice who the better quarterback is. Like, and it should be, but it is very obvious. Anyway, Cam Ward is going to be the starter. There we go. We can get that out of the way. With Will Levis, based on what I've seen, I don't know if you can trust him to be your backup quarterback. Now, the season is probably down the drain if Cam Ward gets hurt, no matter who the backup quarterback is. But Will Levis hasn't done anything to make me think the Titans should keep 3 quarterbacks. If you were planning on cutting him, which I don't know what Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh are thinking, but if you're planning on cutting him at the end of camp, I think you probably need to go find somebody on the outside. We don't know if Trubisky's injury is serious, but if it is, I think you probably look on the outside to find somebody to be the backup for Cam.
Yeah, after that week 1 preseason game against the 49ers, it just, and I said this to Joe and Chase the other day, I was like, I didn't see any production out of Will Levis. Majority of I think it was the first 4 plays, they ran the ball up the middle. So like there wasn't much production for a guy like Will Levis to showcase his talents, which again, like we all understand why. I mean, the guy throws a football, more than likely it's going to be a turnover. But then you have Hendon Hooker, who is, I guess, the camp arm in some cases.
Yeah.
Not sure what he offers to the table, but yeah, you do make a valid point of, do they go to the market and try to find somebody else?
I just think if you're watching practice, you know that Will Levis has not looked great throughout training camp. And again, I've said I think there's no reason why the Titans should keep him, and I think it's very unlikely another team wants to trade for him based on what we've seen in the preseason training camp. So, I mean, why not? Why would you feel confident going into the season with him as your backup quarterback? I think they look somewhere else. But the knock on wood, fingers crossed that Mitch Trubisky is healthy, and it was just a little bit of a scare yesterday.
Yeah, Cam Ward mentioned something. I think it was a couple weeks ago, maybe the first week of training camp. I'll have to go back and find the clip, but he mentioned like the quarterback room itself and like how he sees it all playing out. He's like, yeah, each one of us, we're in a different phase of our like playing career. Like, it's healthy competition, but like everybody's in a different, position. So
Right.
I think he just was basically alluding to like, it's a healthy competition. It's good for, the development of everybody in the room. But
Yes,
I just thought it was just kind of interesting hearing it like out of the horse's mouth.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you'll get to see more Hendon Hooker coming up if Mitch Trubisky's out.
Vols fans are rejoicing.
Stop spitting in the faces of Vols fans. Put Hendon Hooker on the field.
Could you imagine if Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker both get some form of playing time this year? I mean, talk about Vols uproar.
I mean, Hendon Hooker needs to worry about getting practice time before he gets playing time.
But I'm just saying in general, like if there is a world out there, that'd be a wild thing to see.
Here we go. Man, right as I was about to say it, we got a text. Here's if Mitch Trubisky's hurt. Let's say Trubisky needs Tommy John or something out for the year. Diego Pavia.
Oh boy.
You want to talk distractions in the backup quarterback room?
A Titans quarterback room with Cam Ward, who is the number one pick. Very polarizing. A lot of people love him. A lot of people don't like him. The most recent NFL quarterback out of Kentucky. The controversial Heisman runner-up out of Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. And the most recent, most talented quarterback out of Tennessee in Hendon Hooker that Vols fans love, and just throw them all in a blender and see what happens.
Oh boy.
Levis isn't the most recent quarterback out of Kentucky.
Who got drafted since him?
Devin Leary.
Oh man, I forgot Leary got drafted. I was thinking of like guys who were legitimate NFL.
That's fair.
Yeah. Arms.
Leary was like a day 3 pick, and I don't even think he's on the Baltimore roster anymore.
People are texting in, give me Pavia. I mean, it would be the thing is, there would be no reason to do it because none of those three guys, I think, are maybe even roster arms at quarterback. Levis probably will end up on a roster, but like Hooker's not, Pavi's not. They're practice squad guys at best. But putting all three of them in this room just to watch Nashville implode upon itself would be kind of funny.
When you were a kid, you had the Beyblades. Is that what they're called? Where you put them on the little the rip-it stick? That's what each one of these guys are. They're a Beyblade. You just put them inside the arena, and they just go after each other.
I mean, it's just like Titans just pull the pin, throw it, and walk away. That's what it would be like putting Diego Pavia into this room.
But we all know what would happen if Kyler Murray was in this room, right? I mean,
it'd be undisputed.
Thank you.
They'd be winning a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, you're adding the greatest quarterback of all time.
I mean, if we're going with short quarterbacks, might as well go like Kyler Murray, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, it would be so funny to have all three of those guys in the same room because you've got the Lavengers, right? Who they still think Will Levis should be the starting quarterback here. You've got the Vols fans who love Hendon Hooker and think he deserves to get a shot. And then you'd add the Vandy fans in there wanting their superstar Heisman runner-up quarterback to get his shot when none of them have a chance to start in any kind of remote possibility. Oh, it would be hilarious.
It would be the fodder everybody wants to follow.
It would be phone call hell, I'll tell you that much.
It would. Practice squad Pavia going up against the Lavengers, right?
Oh, my goodness. Like, that would be the most entertaining third-string quarterback battle of all time.
It may deserve its own documentary.
I think it would. I mean, are those the three biggest fan bases in Nashville for college football? Like, I think Auburn probably is in that conversation.
Bama.
Alabama. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of SEC fan bases have it, but I would say Tennessee, Vanderbilt, obviously, and Kentucky. Like, I think those three are up there, and you just throw all three of their most recent successful quarterbacks in the mix. Like, I know Joe Milton was solid at Tennessee, but it's like when you think of the last time Tennessee was a real true contender, it was Hendon Hooker with Vanderbilt. First 10-win season, Diego Pavia. Will Levis what bowl did they go to his first year?
Was it the Belk? No, it wasn't the Belk Bowl because that was Virginia Tech.
They played Penn State, right?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. It's
Citrus, I think.
It was a Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, Citrus Bowl.
They beat Iowa 20-7.
Oh, it was Iowa.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a different
That was
Kentucky team.
22. It said he threw 300 plus.
22 is the Music City Bowl. The year before,
That might have
I
been
think,
the
was
23
Citrus.
season then.
Yeah.
That just absolute chaos if that happened. It won't happen, but it would be. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Fun first hour. Let's get into some college football coming up in hour number 2. I also want to get Nick's thoughts on the big win for NSC over the weekend, establishing themselves firmly as the number 1 team in the MLS. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up. 1025 The Game. Second hour on this Tuesday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Lots of Titans talk in the first hour. Titans were on the practice field yesterday. They will be back out there tomorrow. We will be live from Titans camp at 9 a.m. But did want to get into some other things here, starting with the boys in gold, Nick. Nashville SC, after a little bit of a slow return to play after the international break, statement win on Saturday night, beating Messi and Inter Miami 4-1. Brian Schwakey had a save on a penalty kick on Lionel Messi. They scored 4 goals, not 5. To make sure they did not disrespect Jaden Daniels, and got the win. They are firmly at the top of the table in the MLS. This is exciting here in Nashville to see Nashville SC really in true title contention just over midway through the season.
Yeah, and like not only for MLS title purposes, but if they go and win the Supporters Shield, we all know what happens, and that goes to the CONCACAF Champions Cup to get the automatic bid. So 5 points clear of the Eastern Conference and still having the best record in all of MLS is a huge accomplishment. And I do think, going back to that Leagues Cup run last week, fans on Twitter and other social platforms were saying, well, we obviously know Nashville's not looking to win Leagues Cup. Well, I think they were. It's just they were so injury riddled that they were limited with who they could put out there on the field. Like the first match that they played against, I think it was Lyon, and they fielded the youngest starting 11 in club history. And they only lost 1-0, although they did a really good job with it. It was just a mistake in the back that led to a 1-0 loss. But other than that, they competed in that second game. They showed that they could win 4-1 in the Leagues Cup. Then the last game, unfortunate events in the dying minutes of that game.
Yep.
But you go back to MLS play, you get guys like Elias Saad, who's been fantastic since the transfer after the World Cup. You have Eddie Tagseth, who's back. You have Matt Corcoran. That's kind of been the B player in the midfield because Yazbek is still out for his injury.
Yep.
But you have Christian Espinoza back from injury. You have Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge that are clicking on all cylinders. And your back line is still consistent as it's always been with Jason Palacios, Maxwell Waleji, and you mentioned Brian Schwakey earlier with the great save against Inter Miami. And to that Inter Miami game, I do think Inter Miami, they look sluggish, that they look tired, and Messi's coming off the passing of his father, so he's probably not in the right state of mind for the most part, or frame of mind, I would say. And they were dealing with some injuries themselves, and I think Nashville exploited those opportunities. And I do think the back line of Inter Miami was pretty stagnant. Like they were not in the same sequence as they should be. If you're a structurally sound team defensively, you have a pretty straight back line when you have teams going up against you, directing balls inside the box. I just think that's something that Nashville did a really good job of just applying a lot of high pressure in the attacking third and not allowing Inter Miami to get a good rhythm. I thought the second balls were another reason why Nashville won that game.
And I think you've talked about this offseason that Nashville looked inward and said, we're not good enough to beat Inter Miami consistently right now. Lost in the playoffs to them last year. How do you bridge that gap? And you've now seen in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, we're able to beat them on aggregate and move on. And then a 4-1 win here at home. Does it feel like they maybe have gotten through that ceiling and now are legitimate contenders to win the MLS Cup when you get later in the season?
100%. This team is just fundamentally sound. And BJ Callahan spoke about this after this press conference this past weekend, talking about the scouting department and bringing in certain profiles of players to fit the system. And I think they did a really good job of honing that in. Like I got, for example, Elias Saad, who I've briefly mentioned, the way he plays, he likes to kind of cheat inside and just create more opportunities for those overlapping runs for a young left back like Reed Baker Whiting, who they value him as a utility left and right back. He can play both sides.
Yep.
But the way he's able to have those overlapping runs and allow Elias Saad to cut inside, it gives him the opportunity to either pass it off to Sam Surridge, and Sam Surridge can drop it back to Hani and push it back out wide again to Reed, where he can put it back into the box. I know there's a lot of ticky-tack of explaining there, but that's the beauty of watching Nashville play. play is they move the ball so quickly and efficiently. There's not a lot of room for error, which causes the other teams that they go up against to struggle. So to your point, I do think Nashville has what it takes to go the distance and make a deep run in the MLS playoffs. Last year, Joe asked me, do you think Nashville wins hardware this year? And that was in 25. And I said, absolutely. The U.S. Open Cup, BJ said, yeah, we're adamant in winning, so forth. This year, after the League's Cup run, I asked BJ Callahan himself, like, what is this statement or what is the message to the team and the rest of the MLS for you guys to get back into these? He goes, it's not a participation trophy. Like, we're out to win this. So to hear that, I think not only is it good to hear it from the coach, but it also brings a little bit more confidence to the team to hear it from the coach's mouth. Yeah, so that's how I value it.
And Nashville, when you look at the three pro teams around here, we can add the Cats and champions,
sure.
But Titans and Preds, I think it would be a surprise if they are contenders this year, right? Like whether that's playoffs for the Titans, Preds could definitely get into the playoffs, but are they cup contenders? Probably not. Nashville, 5 points clear of anybody else in the MLS. And I know there's still 2.5 months to go in the regular season, but this is a team right here in this city with an opportunity to go win a championship. And they are on the road tomorrow night in it's in New Jersey, technically, right? The New York Red Bulls. I remember when we were up there with Vandy this past year, I saw Sports Illustrated Stadium. It's kind of in the Meadowlands area too. But that'll be a fun one tomorrow night. And then back at home for back-to-back games against Columbus and Cincinnati each of the next 2 Saturdays. So we'll see if Nashville can build on that momentum from Saturday night's game against Miami. They had, again, lost a couple of games in the League's Cup, had a couple of draws, a loss to Orlando. Feels like that could have been the breakthrough they needed to get this team back into a rhythm.
Yeah, before the League's Cup run, they had 2 games, and you mentioned one of them, Orlando and Washington. They were up 2-0 against Washington at Washington.
Yep.
And you think, oh, my goodness, if they get this win, this would really separate themselves from other teams in the Eastern Conference because, that was a game they kind of needed. But after playing Inter Miami and beating them 4-1, there's no issues at all from this point on. They can finally, get back healthy, and now they have a rotation of a starting 11. They can go to their B side of, mixing Daniel Lovitz in as a left back, putting Engelhard at the right back, or if they're confident enough, which I think they are, putting Josh Bauer at right back, Daniel Lovitz at left back, and keeping your central, defenders and Woleji and Palacios to do the dirty work. So they now have a healthy system where they can rely on certain players. And I think that's what the League's Cup was for, was those players that were the depth pieces, getting them more minutes and allowing them to build a little bit more confidence under their belt to go into MLS play saying, hey, I can play with the best of the best.
Right.
Because one of them was Shaq Muhammad, and he's done a really good job of developing into a young, talented player. And one more thing before we kind of move on, Nashville moved off of Woobens Pacious, who was a young striker in some sense.
Yeah.
Didn't get a lot of playtime here in Nashville. It just didn't seem to work out, didn't gel. Talk about the player profiles earlier. Nashville, I guess, sold him to a third division French league, and they added a sell-on price as well. The price is still undisclosed. It hasn't been distributed, but my hunch is thinking Elias Sada is on a loan through the 2027 sprint season. So if they're trying to sign him, I assume they're trying to open up some money for that purpose as well. But I'm sure there's other opportunities for that as well. They might have other plans, but that would be my gut feeling.
Yeah, yep. And they continue to upgrade this roster. You mentioned Saad coming in here. He's been a key piece. So excited to see what Nashville SC does. Again, they are back in action tomorrow night on the road and then back at home on Saturday for back-to-back games at Geodis Park. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone lines driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides. First pitch is at 5:35, and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. Let's talk some college football when we come back. The AP poll is out. Last year, 12 of the 25 teams in the preseason poll were not ranked at the end of the season. Who are some pretenders who are ranked in the initial AP poll? And who are some teams that maybe are on the outside looking in that you think could make a legitimate run to get into the college football playoff? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier. Connor Newt's spinning some carry this morning.
This is the good stuff, man.
Carrie Underwood from American Idol to like the mid 2010s, there weren't a whole lot of misses from her.
You got the passionate stuff like this. And
Yeah.
then I think you've said this to me before. She has a lot of songs about domestic violence towards her ex-boyfriends.
Yeah. I mean, or worse. Mike Fisher, look out. You better treat her well, because some of those songs, the husband doesn't come out on top.
Yep. Hopefully your car's okay. There's not a key on the side of it.
I mean, or worse.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Very true.
Church bells. What's two black Cadillacs? Some bad things can happen.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, there you go.
That's more of a passionate, soulful song. Like,
right.
that's the exact opposite of that.
I know, but he's going to need that. If you
he might. He might. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to join the conversation. Let's talk some college football. The AP poll is out. The initial AP poll looked a lot like the coaches poll that we saw a few weeks ago. We've talked about this a lot on the show. The top 7 seem pretty clear-cut. Like, I think those are your national championship contenders: Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Indiana, Miami. Those are the teams that you look at and say, yeah, if things break their way, they could end up hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. I think there's a pretty steep drop-off after that. Now, that doesn't mean that the teams 8 through 16 aren't good, but I think you can see flaws with all of those teams, and you don't put them in that upper echelon. I wanted to go through this group here because, as I mentioned heading into break, half of last year's preseason poll went completely unranked, including some of the teams at the very top. Like Penn State was the number 2 team in the country heading into the year last year and went 6-6. So who do you think sitting if you want to go into the top 7, you're perfectly welcome to, but sitting towards the top in playoff contention, top 15, top 20, do you think might have a bust of a season and end up being unranked or maybe even worse towards the end of the year?
Number 12, Texas Tech. I think that's the prime one there. Any others in the top 20 that I see? Probably Washington. That might be another one. So I'd go Washington and Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech is an interesting one because it's just, the conference they're playing in and the schedule they play. I do think that team is talented, even without an upgrade at quarterback, that they can win that division and get into the playoff, or win that conference and get into the playoff. I don't think this team is better than they were last year. I think it's going to be very similar of you get into the playoff, you run into one of the big boys, and you go home. But looking through this schedule, there aren't a lot of games that I look at and say, hey, Texas Tech better look out. And I'm sure they'll slip up at some point. Like Houston's going to be a good team, and Houston is ranked in this, correct? They're 24?
Yes.
23. So Houston's a ranked team that they play in week 3. But the rest of their Big 12 schedule, like Colorado, worst team in the Big 12 by the preseason poll. Arizona State did beat them last year, and they're a talented team. Arizona's a decent team. But outside of that, I look up and down this schedule and I say, yeah, Texas Tech, even if they're just above average, they're probably still going to be the winners, or at least playing for a Big 12 championship at the end of the year.
Yeah, I look at the last 3 games on that Texas Tech schedule: Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU. 2 of those 3 games are away in tough environments, especially Oklahoma State. I think they're going through a stadium renovation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe so.
So you have that. And then Baylor, Baylor's trying to get back to their old form. They have DJ Lagway this year. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
So I do think 2 out of those last 3 games, it will be difficult. I think they, prevail over Oklahoma State. But those last 2 games in Baylor, TCU, I could see a drop-off. I really could. And again, they don't have Jacob Rodriguez this year. You don't have a linebacker that is kind of continually, I wouldn't say carrying your defense.
The quarterback at your defense.
Yeah. He's not there. So, they've obviously went into the portal. They have a recruiting class that kind of can help compensate for the losses. But again, how do you replace a guy that had over 100 tackles? Yeah,
it's going to be a really good Texas Tech team, but I agree with you. I don't put them in that upper echelon. Maybe if Sorsby was there, I think you could say, all right, they've upgraded at quarterback. Can they start to contend with some of those top tier teams? But with Will Hammond at quarterback, I'm going to say no. Let's see. You mentioned Washington. That Big 12 cluster there, or Big 10 cluster, I should say, of USC, Michigan, Washington, Penn State. I'm skeptical about all of them in one way or another. The interesting team I look at is Michigan here. Like, there's been a lot of chaos there over the last few years with Harbaugh and I'm blanking on Sharon Moore, everything that's gone on there.
Connor
Stallions. Kyle Whittingham, I think, is a very good football coach, and he's getting better resources at Michigan than he had at Utah. Is the fit going to work, though? I don't know. Is Bryce Underwood going to take a step in year 2? I don't know. Michigan is one of those really high ceiling teams, but also I think could end up being a team that doesn't live up to expectations. That one's a wild card. And I think USC is a wild card too. I think you look at Lincoln Riley, what he's been able to do offensively, and you've got Jaden Maiava coming back. The expectation is the defense is going to be better this year, but I don't know. And so I think those two teams for me, USC and Michigan, could easily see both of them being playoff teams, but also I think there's enough flaws on those teams that you could see them having a steep drop-off too.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 games on their schedule that's top 10 material, top 6 easily because it's, Indiana's number 6, but Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. Those 3 games, those will be the hiccup games. If they're proven talent like we're talking about now, they can take care of the games against Washington, Penn State, the Wisconsins of the world, even at this point, UCLA at the end of their schedule. If they're a good team, they can take care of business, then sure. But those 3 games are in the top 6. I just don't see them prevailing over
that. Tennessee ranked 20th. Did you guys see Heather Dinich's rant on this on McAfee yesterday? Her exact words: "I can't believe Tennessee is even ranked. Why is Tennessee ranked, let alone top 20?" I think Tennessee is a good roster, but I understand why you would say that, of like, you have no idea who the quarterback's going to be, and you have no idea what the quarterback's going to look like when they're out there. So that one's really interesting to me with Tennessee. I think the top 17, 18 are pretty consensus of like, those are the teams. You can mix up the order, but once you get beyond that, I think it's really tough to fill in the back end of this top 25 because there is a little bit of a drop-off down to these borderline teams. Tennessee, Utah with a new head coach. Houston, can they take a step forward? Missouri always ranked somewhere towards the back end. So I understand what she's saying. Like, there are questions with Tennessee, but I would also ask, like, who else are you going to put there? Because there are big question marks down the rest of the rankings and into the receiving votes category as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to, sound like a conspiracy theorist in some way, but when you have Tennessee ranked inside the top 25, you look at their schedule, their first 3 games: Furman, Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, and then week 4, who do they have? Texas, who's ranked in the top 5.
Yep.
So when you look at that from a TV perspective, you're going to have a top 5 team versus maybe a top 15 team if they take care of business by winning by a margin of 20 or 23 in the first 3 games of each of those. So if that is the case, then people can say, oh my goodness, Tennessee's legit. They're going to go up against one of the best teams in all the SEC in Texas. But in reality, if they go into that game and they get, stomped and kneeling, that's where you're going to be like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech is a big game for them. You're still going to be without Arian Carter, and your quarterback is going to be playing a high-level opponent for the very first time. That's a big game. But yeah, that Texas game, very similar field to Georgia last year of – it's going to be a big game going into it. Can you go get the win and establish yourself as a playoff contender? Not saying it's game over if you lose that game, because Texas is going to be very good, but I think that's a real turning point for the season. Texas may be without Trevor Gooseby there, starting left tackle. No official word there, but I guess he left practice with a knee injury.
Look, I'm in the camp of throw the ball up in the air and Cam Coleman's going to come down with it.
Yeah.
I don't care if that ball is 60 yards down the field or 5 yards down the field. That guy, I mean, we've all seen the viral clip at this point.
Yeah.
The one-handed snag across his body. I mean, that is a specimen of a wide receiver.
He's legit. I was down on the sideline for the Auburn-Vandy game last year, and like they basically got to a point where they're like, our game plan is throw it to 8 on every play, try and stop it. And on the last play of the game, Vandy did stop it. They sent 2 guys right at him, and it didn't matter. Like, there was no read on the play. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Freeze at that point. He had just gotten fired. It was their interim head coach. I'm pretty sure the play call was Cam's going to run to the end zone. No matter what, you're throwing it up to him and see if he can go make a play. And he didn't. Text here from 1880. Once again, Notre Dame overrated, find their way into the top rated teams. I don't know about that this year. I think Notre Dame's going to be really good. I really do. I like CJ Carr kind of flies under the radar in terms of returning quarterbacks. You talk about Julian Sayin and Dante Moore and Gunnar Stockton and Arch Manning. CJ Carr was good last year and I think has all the tools to take a really big step. I think Notre Dame's going to be really good this year. I do not believe they are overrated, at least as of right now. We'll see once they put the ball down and play what happens. But as of right now, I think Notre Dame is a deserving top 5 team in the country.
Out of the transfer portal on the offensive side of the football, they only went and got 2 starters, and that's wide receivers.
Yep.
A lot of those guys coming back were already on the roster last year. And, Joe has mentioned this before, like to LSU's point, or Ole Miss, excuse me, they went to the weight room, right? Connor, we were on that show together. Yeah. They went to the weight room and they understand the breakup of not getting in to the playoff last year. Same situation. I think Marcus Freeman is shaping this team up for a long run.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has a chip on its shoulder, missing the playoff this year. They're going to be looking to make a deep run. I do think that this team is deservingly a top 5 team in the preseason AP poll. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll go through some of the teams on the outside looking in coming up next. Are there any sleepers that you think are being underrated at this point? We'll talk about it next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and a couple of Ella fellows here. Nick Frazier, Connor Newt.
I'm not a huge one. I love this song though.
This is a good song.
Might be the best song ever created. It's incredible.
I think Nick Frazier's going to start crying.
No, we're not doing that. No crying today.
We can talk about soccer. I know way more about that than you.
Yeah,
do.
I
Yes,
can't
you
believe
do.
we went through a whole soccer segment without getting Connor Newt's thoughts on it. I'm sorry.
I asked him in the break. I was like, "Why'd you not chime in?" He goes, "Nah, y'all were just rolling." I was like, "No, come on, man, anytime."
I was really proud of myself the other day because I've been watching the ESPN Jeopardy or whatever with Joe Buck.
Yeah,
I got a golf question right. I was
Wow.
really proud of myself.
I need to start watching those. I don't know if we've talked about it on the air with Jamie Erdahl and thinking Marvin Harrison was T.Y. Hilton.
We talked about it.
Okay, we
You and
talked
I
about it
did.
on the air. I forgot about that, but yeah,
No.
that one made me laugh. Yeah,
Wow,
tough.
That is tough. That's not a good look for Good Morning Football.
It is not.
Oh.
No, it is not.
She's repping the Titans the other day too.
Yeah, while we were talking about that, yeah, that's right. I do remember that now. Yeah, tough. I did see the Hokies were a clue on one of them.
They were. So was Steve McNair. He was one.
Really? Lane Stadium rocks to Enter Sandman, where this school plays in this state, the only one without a Big Four pro sports team or something like that. So the answer was Virginia, but they were talking about the Hokies.
I was really proud of myself because I think I learned this one from you two. It was, this is where the U.S. Open takes place every year. And I was like, Oakmont, I know this. And it was correct.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, they usually switch around, but I think this previous.
Oh,
year
the
was
previous.
okay.
Oh, the previous year.
Yeah,
Okay,
whatever.
I thought you meant every year. I was like, the U.S. Open rotates.
It
doesn't it?
rotates. Yeah. But no, he's spot on with that. Yeah.
Connor knows his soccer and golf, though.
That's all I know.
We're talking to the college football preseason poll. AP poll came out yesterday. We went through some of the teams towards the top that maybe could slip down throughout the year. Who are some teams on the outside looking in that we are keeping an eye on? I continue to circle back to South Carolina. I just think when you have a quarterback that is as talented as Lenore Sellers, even though he didn't play like it last year, you've seen it from Sellers. You've got an elite edge rusher in Dylan Stewart. The rest of the team may not be like a college football playoff team, but having the quarterback fixes a whole lot of problems. South Carolina, not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they could be in the conversation towards the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're all trying to come off the high of Lenore Sellers was a preseason, Heisman favorite last year, and trying to really come to grasp of, is this team good enough to be a top 25 team? I think it's crazy how much the perspective of that team has regressed.
Yeah.
Now up to now, I think there's a new standard. And to your point, yeah, they're one of those sneaky teams that could stick around.
I think there's desperation there of Shane Beamer knowing that his job is on the line. If they're bad this year, he's probably out. And with Lenore Sellers, you are a player that has NFL traits and can be a first-round pick, even high first-round pick NFL quarterback. Last year at midseason, the ESPN did a poll of NFL executive scouts of which quarterback is standing out to you. And Sellers was the guy that everyone said, if I had to pick a number one quarterback right now, it would be Lenore Sellers. About 4 weeks later, they did it again. It was Fernando Mendoza. But Sellers has traits that NFL scouts like. He has to be good this year to get that payday, get that opportunity at the next level. Shane Beamer needs to be better this year to keep his job. I think the desperation for South Carolina and having elite level pieces at premium positions makes this team dangerous. So South Carolina, I think they are an eight win plus team this year that could contend. They were almost in the playoff 2 years ago. I'm going to say they're a top 20 team in the country this year.
Don't hate me for this next one, Jake.
Yeah.
UNLV.
Hey, Dan Mullen.
Don't hate me, guys, but I'm just saying.
I
You
think
love Dan Mullen.
You are Dan. If Dan Mullen could coach Kyler Murray, Nick Frazier would be in heaven.
I mean, we're talking about probably the best quarterback coach duo ever. I mean, behind Dak Prescott and Dan Mullen. No, I mean, the reason why I say UNLV, their schedule is fairly easy for the most part. I mean, they take on Memphis, in Vegas. They take on Hawaii that's at Hawaii. But then you have North Texas, Akron, Cal. I think their toughest one on their schedule might be North Dakota State. They're making the jump to FBS.
Yep.
The rest of it's Air Force, Northern Illinois, Wyoming, New Mexico, San Jose, Nevada. Like, to me, that is I wouldn't say an easy schedule, but it's a manageable schedule for a guy like Dan Mullen who understands what needs to be done to make the playoff. And that's just win your conference.
Yeah, win your conference, and it makes it a lot easier. Boise State now in the Pac-12, the Pac-8, really, the Pac-12. And it opens the door for a team like UNLV to win that conference and end up being the group of 5 participant in the playoff. So I like that. Some other teams that stood out to me in the others receiving voids. Illinois, again, not a team that I think is a playoff contender, but what Brett Bielema has done with that team has flown under the radar, and I think they deserve some props for what they've been able to do. Wouldn't shock me if Illinois is in the top 15 conversation at some point this year. I like Minnesota, PJ Fleck. Like, again, not playoff contender, but I think they could be ranked at some point this year. How about those Hokies? I don't think I think towards the end of the season, things are going to fall off when they play tougher games like Miami and Clemson. But early on in the season, there's a path for the Hokies to get to like 6-0 heading into Clemson. That could be ranked on rank, Hokies and Tigers at Death Valley on October 24th. Just putting it out there.
Clemson not being ranked is kind of a shocker to me.
Yeah, Corey Curtis did text and try to take his victory lap. I know you guys haven't been a part of those conversations.
He smells like waffles every time I see him.
Yeah, Corey Curtis thinks Dabo Swinney's going to get fired.
Really?
Yeah. We'll have to have this conversation tomorrow. Ooh. And he has made a friendly deal with me and Parker that if he gets fired this year, we have to buy him coffee from Starbucks for a month or something like that.
Okay.
But if not, he takes us to Waffle House.
Wow. I'm in. I mean, I wish I could be in for this because a meal at Waffle House. I
think eventually the leash runs out on Dabo Swinney, but I don't think it's this year. I don't.
I could see next year. I mean, depending on what the recruiting class looks like. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the big issue with him is that he's not really trying to go after players in the portal.
Well, we went through it, though, and like when you look at the blue chip ratio, the amount of 4 and 5 stars on teams, they're still top 15 when you look at like the makeup of the roster. It obviously hasn't looked as good the last few years, but I'm not ready to completely give up on Dabo at Clemson. I think they're going to be good, but good being contending for the ACC. But this is the first time since 2011 they're not ranked in the preseason poll. Kind of crazy.
There might be some writing on the wall. I don't know. Corey might be on something.
Corey is a big Dabo hater on the program. We'll talk about that coming up tomorrow with him. Florida being the second team outside the rankings is, I don't want to say surprising because, again, that's a sleeping giant that has the resources and has the pull to become a really good program quickly. And I like John Sumrall, but I think there's a lot of belief in this team before we've seen it on the field to have them that close to being ranked immediately. I think they're going to be good, but not great. I think they're a 7-win team this year, which is a step forward. And then I think next year is when maybe you see John Sumrall get some players in the portal. They load up and they could possibly be a top 15-ish team throughout the year. But I think this is going to be a 7-5-ish year for Florida.
Yeah, I can see their defense really playing a big factor because there are a lot of returning guys on that Florida defense that I feel like if you're Sumrall, you kind of have to rally around. And again, when you're trying to establish culture, that's kind of where you want your culture to be established on the defensive side of the football. As for the offensive side, they went into the portal. Obviously, he's coming from Tulane, so you're bringing a few of your players from there. Try to, establish your offensive system. And if that is the case, then they might be a sleeping giant, like you're saying, but I'd have to believe to see it.
Yes.
They're as good as their quarterback is. Aaron Philo is kind of the wild card in this situation because I think offensively they've got some really good pieces, especially at running back and receiver. It's just, can their quarterback elevate them? And as we've seen, their quarterback the past couple of years has been more of a detriment to them than a help. So they are as good as their quarterback position takes them to be.
I had such high hopes for DJ Lagway last year.
He might be good at Baylor. You never know.
Maybe.
TCU is another team to watch out for as well.
Really?
I think so.
The Horned Frogs.
I mean, they could go 5-0 up into BYU. And if they can get over the BYU obstacle, then could be looking at 6-7-0.
We get to see them in 10 days up in Dublin, taking on Chapel Bill.
The fact that Kentucky is not ranked in the top 3 is a travesty to college
I
football.
knew you were going to get in there. Did they receive any votes?
No.
Don't believe so.
Auburn received a couple of votes.
I would vote for Kentucky to be number 1.
I know you would. That's why you don't have a vote. Corey Curtis is listening. He texted me 5-7. That's all he said, referring to Clemson. So there you go.
I like the optimism, Corey, on your side.
Optimism.
For him, it's
For
optimism.
him, I guess
Yeah.
it's true. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Andrew Allegretto from Vanderbilt Football is going to join us in about 15 minutes. We will wrap up hour number 2 after this. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton. Is this Kentucky?
Nope.
I've got to say I'm famously bad at my fight songs.
We are running down the hill right now.
Oh, Clemson. Okay. Yeah. Both Parker and Corey were listening and have sent me. So we're all on completely different spectrums here. So Corey says 5-7, Dabo's fired. Parker says Clemson goes 6-6, but he stays and they don't fire him. I'm of the opinion Clemson's going to be like an 8 or 9 win team this year, and he's obviously going to stick around at that point. But who knows? We can look at the schedule here because I really don't think that this is a 5-7 team.
I mean, that looks pretty favorable. If I'm a Clemson fan, I'm kind of happy about this schedule.
So I'll even go like worst case scenario here just to see where we end up. They lose at LSU. I think they're going to lose at LSU.
Yep.
They could lose at Cal. JKS is a good player. It's a long road trip across the country. There's 2. Lose to Miami at home. Definitely could happen. As much as I want to be a Hokie homer, I don't think that Tech's going to go into Death Valley and win that game. I think they beat Florida State. I think they beat Syracuse. They could lose. Well, let's say they lose one of those 3 games to Virginia Tech, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and then they lose to South Carolina. I think at worst they're a 7-5 team.
Yeah, that I think would be the floor for them. The ceiling, I mean, they could, if they take care of business against, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Syracuse, they should be fine. Like I really could see them losing like 2 games, and those are their ranked games. Genuinely.
They're going to lose to LSU, and I think they're going to lose to Miami. I think you're right there. I think those are the 2 that I would struggle to see them win. But to act like they're going to lose 4 more games or 5 more games, I think is crazy. We did go through it, and Corey was being mostly facetious, I think, saying like we were listing them off. At LSU, loss. Georgia Southern, loss. Like it's Clemson, I think, is going to be an above average ACC team. They're going to be in the mix to go to the ACC championship, and Dabo Swinney will be coaching game 1 in 2027. Sorry, Corey. It's not going to happen.
What's your Waffle House order?
I haven't been to Waffle House in a long time.
You're joking.
I haven't been probably since college.
Oh,
I've never been to Waffle House.
Oh, wow. That's a travesty. Waffle House is great. It's one of those things that you can only have once every 6 months because after you finish it, you feel disgusting. Like I feel gross every time I left Waffle House. And it's like, I do not need to come back here for a long time. And I've stayed away for a while, but while you're sitting there eating it, it's really good.
It's very good. You got to get the chocolate chip waffle. You get the Texas, the Texas sandwich where you get the bacon and sausage on it with the eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the hash browns smothered covered. And then, if you're feeling a little extra generous, you get the steak and eggs.
The hash browns there are phenomenal.
Don't forget the cheesy grits.
Oh, see, I'm not a huge grits guy.
Oh,
I'm not a huge grits guy, but I love the hash browns. They're great. I did one of their like bowls where it was like hash browns, eggs, cheese, bacon. Like that's really good too. You need to go to Waffle House. Maybe we'll try and cut you in on this deal with Corey when Dabo Swinney inevitably doesn't get fired.
I'll just be Parker's +1 or something because he can't say no, right? He has to just keep
that.
buying.
Yeah, that's true. 9777 is very unhappy with you. All caps, never been to Waffle House with 5 question marks and 3 exclamation points. Are you Canadian or something? What the hell?
No, I think I'm just over the teeth requirement to be there.
I like Waffle House. Again, I feel gross sometimes leaving there, but it's solid.
It's an American staple. I mean, if you go there and get a waffle and some hash browns, even just a slap of cheese on it, you're in good shape. Put a little pepper, the cheesy grits. I mean, you really cannot go wrong at Waffle House. I mean, you get any type of egg you want, scrambled, over easy, sunny side up, whatever. I mean, that place, you're going to get pay-per-view events there, maybe a fight or two. You're going to be able to, you may be able to go to the jukebox from time to time. That is what you want.
Yeah, I've never done the late night Waffle House expedition. I've only exclusively gone at breakfast time. but I have heard stories of what goes on there past like 2 a.m.
2:30 in the morning, breakfast time is still breakfast time, and it is a fun time with that. So
I was more of an IHOP. Like our family was more of an IHOP family growing up. Like
Me
that
too.
was honestly, I can't think if there were any Waffle Houses around me growing up.
you probably had the huddle houses, right? Isn't that what that was?
No, not
Really?
that was more North Carolina. Like Northern Virginia wasn't really. I can't think of where a Waffle House would have been. Like Virginia is very different when you get about an hour outside of DC. Like once you pass that line, you're in the South. But when you get within an hour of DC, you might as well be in like Pennsylvania. So it's very different. But yes, there was a Waffle House in Blacksburg when I was in college, and I did frequent that a couple of times.
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, I know for a fact if Connor goes, he'll be going back multiple times.
I'm good. I think I'm a bit high society. Maybe it's very Bell Mead of me to stay away from Waffle House.
This
but I'm
is
good.
below the Bell Mead line.
Yeah.
We're talking, I don't know what's the best way to describe this. I don't want to insult anybody. I mean, I am a part of that demographic. So
You're part of the Bell Mead crowd.
no, I'm a part of the Waffle House crowd. I am not a part of the Bell Mead crowd. I just like shopping out there for my food.
We've got lots of reaction to the Waffle House conversation here. 4312 Connor says you can't make teeth jokes as a UK fan.
Kentucky lives rent free in this guy's head. Like, there's more comments from him about Kentucky than there is his own team. So I just disregard.
We've got, lots of comments on IHOP too. Nevada Josh agrees IHOP. David says IHOP is trash. Matt says we were more of an IHOP family. Can't hide money, Jake. There was just no Waffle Houses around there. Like, sorry. If there was, we would have been a Waffle House family.
We were
Trust
more of
me.
a pancake pantry family growing up here. That's the place.
A biscuit love family.
I was Cracker Barrel through and through.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Cracker Barrel, too.
That's a Nevada Josh just said Cracker Barrel.
I mean, how can you go wrong with those Mama's pancake breakfast, right? With the hot syrup. Oh, my goodness.
That's my pick. Yeah. Cracker Barrel's the breakfast spot.
I mean, you get the bacon. They give you 3 slices. I mean, the lady calls you hun. I mean, how can you go wrong? I mean, I grew up with the Southern twang. Give it to me every day of the week.
David, Dustin from Hopkinsville says, if there's not an employee smoking outside in their apron, go to a different Waffle House. They're not established yet. And if they're not arguing in front of you while they're cooking, head to the next Waffle House. They're not established yet.
And they'll probably tell you it's their birthday to get an extra tip, even if it's not.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. It was the Dabo conversation that got us off on that tangent. 6166 says, with Corey, no way Dabo survives a non-playoff season. I disagree. The grass isn't always greener, and I think Clemson understands that you're not in the SEC, you're not in the Big Ten. Dabo might be the closest thing keeping you relevant right now.
Plus, if there's some form of conference realignment too at some point.
Right. If the Protect College Sports Act goes into play. Lots of things to be sorted out, but I'm standing firm. Dabo Swinney going to be the head coach at Clemson in 2027. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Dr. Crane, great having you in. We will talk again on next week, I guess.
Yes. Thanks for having me as always.
Andrew Allegretta going to join us next, the voice of Vanderbilt football. We will talk Vandy football as they gear up for their new season starting September 5th against Austin Peay. Jake and Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Tuesday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt with you. And we are now thrilled to be joined by the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, Andrew Allegretta, with us for the full final hour of the show as the Commodores gear up for the new season. Now just 16, 18 days away. We're getting close.
We are. Are we going right back into the Waffle House conversation?
I think we have to, right? Like, we got to get your thoughts on this. What is your Waffle House experience?
Limited, but fine. There's a Waffle House down the road from us. So whoever wrote in, like, if they don't have an employee out front smoking a cigarette in their apron, they're not established yet, that hits home. Like, I don't understand why that's the case, but the number of times that I've driven by that Waffle House and that scene has been set, a lot.
Right. I think that it's the sign of a good Waffle House, right? Like, as Dustin said, keep it moving.
Functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning, right? With all of the beauty and chaos that Waffle Houses are supposed to function with. We've got a Cracker Barrel across the street too, which is, I think, where we would go as a group.
Yep.
Like, I want to be able to walk to my table through just a cavalcade of unnecessary stuff in the country store.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I want.
Candies
from the 1950s and soda pop that doesn't exist anymore. And a broom that moves on its own for Halloween when it's February, which my son desperately tried to get me to buy a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Like, there was an automated broom for Halloween just kind of wiggling through the store.
Was it for purchase?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you could have. Okay. Gotcha.
100%. And I said, no, but that's the experience that I want.
Yeah. So with Waffle Houses, I pass it every day, and I'm sure you've seen it too, right down the road from here. There is a delivery only Waffle House, which I feel like defeats the purpose. If as Dustin said, if they're not arguing behind the counter as they're ordering your food, and part of the experience of Waffle House is being inside the Waffle House.
I think so. Late at night. Like, I felt like that is the point of Waffle House, like at its heart and soul, is the evening Waffle House. But it's not necessarily my spot. Not good, not bad, not anything. It's like, of the spots that you would pick on the cavalcade of Southern chain restaurants, like, Waffle House is not necessarily mine. That's fine. But I do feel like it's supposed to be had post midnight.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably when it's the best, right?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, after a night out, and
but again,
you don't hit Waffle House.
But again, I understand that, like, it's not my spot, and as we know with you, can't hide money. It wasn't your spot either.
I will have to look it up during the break where the closest Waffle House to me was growing up, because I don't think I ever saw one.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, as it wasn't convenient. I don't know if we would have been a Waffle House family if they were convenient to us.
I will side with you on one thing, and maybe we're going to separate this. Like, there's obviously the gas station convenience store argument, like, which spot is yours?
Yeah.
Having lived in Virginia, are you a Sheetz guy?
I loved Sheetz.
See, I'm a Sheetz guy too. So that's where I'm going to come down with you on that particular.
Yeah.
Wawa, Sheetz, whatever else is out there.
I love a good Wawa too. We
Sheetz.
Wawa came in here a month ago because they opened one in Clarksville and gave us some gear, like some hoagies. It was really good. I agree. I was more of a Sheetz guy growing up, but Wawa very good too.
Buc-ee's is great. I'm all for Buc-ee's. It's a little overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I might offend some people. I feel like everyone loves the food at Buc-ee's. I was hoping for more when it comes to the food. Like, I don't need,
I would agree with that.
Respectfully, I don't need the brisket sandwich, whatever. Their snack choices are off the wall. And again, if you need whatever the Buc-ee's equivalent, like if you need a Buc-ee's branded Halloween broom, you could get that too. That's fine.
You can get anything you can imagine.
I'm all for Buc-ee's. Their food's okay.
I agree.
Am I gonna get evicted from the studio? There's gonna be somebody from Buc-ee's when I walk out of here. Like, excuse me, sir, we need to have you in this room for a moment.
You're gonna have to move to a different state. We've taken Tennessee.
I feel like it's gonna be like a Las Vegas backroom situation. Excuse me, sir, go into this room.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come with us. I agree with you. I think Buc-ee's, I was underwhelmed because it's very the hype is
really high,
unimaginable,
which is good for them, but also creates some problems.
My favorite gas station, which they aren't around here, but when I spent summers up in Minnesota, was Quick Trip, the KT, not the QT.
QT's here.
We stopped there if the team won after every game and before every road trip and would get a 6-pack of Glazers, the donuts, to share with me and some of the coaches.
I feel like you're purchasing that at a young age. I thought you were going somewhere else with a 6-pack of ... I'm like, your coach is pretty liberal, man.
Our coach, if you wanted to buy that on your own time, great. Couldn't bring it on the team bus.
Yeah, okay.
That was kind of the line that was drawn. So that was
feels
kind
like
of
a
my
decent
place.
line.
Feels like a reasonable line.
Appropriate line.
Okay, let's talk football.
Should we?
Let's talk football. We've made it 7 minutes into this segment.
This is the Lane Kiffin experience where he tries to talk about anything other than football.
You're filibustering.
That's right. That's right.
We were out together at the scrimmage on Saturday. Got to listen into Clark Lee. I didn't talk to you about this on Saturday, but listening to Clark Lee speak, I'm always just like enthralled. Like a 30-minute press conference goes by so fast because he speaks so knowledgeably about everything. And I think he makes it relatable. Like I think some coaches struggle to be able to make the difficult and the complex in football simple for people. And I think Clark's really able to massage that well of like, yes, it's complicated what we're talking about, but I can put it to you in terms that you're going to understand.
And he's thoughtful and he's mindful and he's super intelligent, which surprises nobody. I recognize the fact that we exist kind of in a clippable world.
Yep.
And essays don't do as well as a tweet. But Clark certainly thinks in essay form, which, by the way, on a human level, in reality, is the way that you need to think.
Yeah.
If you try to present things that are complicated in a team setting or in a real life setting in some sort of haphazard tweet form, that's not giving it the due diligence that it needs. But I'm right there with you. The way that he spoke, and of course the conversation is going to trend toward the quarterback conversation and that competition that's going on. But he was really intentional to slow that conversation down. He didn't want to race past it. He didn't want to give it less than a full-throated explanation because he recognizes how significant that conversation is, the implications of all of it, what it means for the people involved inside the building. He recognizes that there's tentacles that go out from that. So the fact that he was able to drop the temperature and explain it thoughtfully, to me, that's what it deserves. And I don't think that there's really any other coach, and I say this out of respect of a lot of coaches that I've worked for, I think Tim Corbin is maybe in that conversation, that can truly give you an unmatched explanation and thought process. Ultimately, coaches, you've got to be an expert in your field, but you're a communicator and you're a teacher. And if you can't communicate why you think things are important, you're going to struggle as a coach. And I think when you listen to Clark explain things like the quarterback position and why it's going the way that it is and where they are at this moment in time, you understand why he's a good coach, because that skill set also exists on the field. It exists in the meeting rooms. It exists at donor events or whatever it is. And that's the sort of stuff I do think ultimately when decisions are hard resonates with people.
And I thought the answer specifically that he had on Jared Curtis and everything he's going through, I mean, for a lot of fans and a lot of us out here on the outside, you view Jared Curtis as 5-star quarterback. Why is he not immediately being plugged in as the starter? But there's a lot that goes into that for a kid that young. Of he's at college for the first time. He's dealing with these new experiences. And he talked about the pressure that's on a kid like that. Like, you're hearing it from all angles. He's going through a lot trying to get ready to play college quarterback for Vanderbilt.
And Clark acknowledged the fact that he's been dealing with a lot of pressure for a long time, which sort of calcifies your emotions a little bit and makes it harder to truly understand what you're feeling and what you need from yourself and from others as you transition. The other thing that I would add is not only is he a freshman, regardless of skill set, he is a freshman at a moment in time where college athletics is older than ever and more experienced than ever. The equivalency, and I don't know that anybody necessarily would agree with this to me, and perhaps I've made this point before, but a freshman pitcher used to be able to throw a dirty slider that was, 2 feet off the plate. But because that pitcher was going up against kind of the equivalent of experience, they would get chases. Not anymore in college baseball. You throw a filthy slider, but it's 2 feet off the plate, they're going to check off on it again and again and again because the hitters have more at-bats. I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? There is so much more knowledge and experience. Vanderbilt is still a very experienced football team, regardless of that quarterback position. But there's so much more experience in college football. Not only is Jared Curtis trying to do this as a freshman in the SEC, but he's doing it as a freshman in the SEC at the hardest position on the field, the most demanding, the most scrutinized position on the field at a time when there has never been more experience on the field with players and gifted defensive coordinators ready to make your life miserable. So regardless of wherever this goes, I think keeping that in mind is ultra significant for anybody as you just experience this externally. There is a lot there that makes this a brutal thing to do. Not to say he can't, not to say that he even is the starting quarterback, but the proposition in front of him is extreme. It just is.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who really should have just stepped onto a college campus within the last couple of days. If you're just
That's
talking
right.
about any person at his age,
Or the way that it used to be.
right, but where you're not enrolling early and going into spring ball. Like, he has had a little bit more of a runway, but it's still a big ask for somebody of that age. And we can get into this a little bit more when we come back, of just like what he's looked like and some of the things that he does really well, but also some of the reasons that maybe you would pull back a little bit and realize that you need to wade him into the water a little bit. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, questions on Vanderbilt, you can text or call on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, we've got 45 more minutes with Andrew. We'll talk quarterbacks. We'll talk some of the key returners, some of the newcomers for this team, and expectations for Vanderbilt heading into the 2026 season. Jake Lyman, Andrew Allegretta, Connor Newton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Andrew Allegretta, Connor Newt, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Andrew with us for the full final hour, talking Vanderbilt, Commodores, and Austin Peay, starting the new season on September 5th at First Bank Stadium. And of course, the big question is quarterback. We went through some of the external factors facing Jared Curtis, and you mentioned how he's kind of calcified those reactions.
Yeah, Clark mentioned that.
Clark said he's like a parent, and you can kind of tell when your kid didn't sleep well. It's like he can kind of see it on guys' faces where they're standing, and with Jared, it can be a little bit tougher. With Jared Curtis and Blaise Berlowitz, there are some people who try and make this out to be cut and dry. It's Jared. I understand the reasons that you would think about starting both of these guys. Blaise Berlowitz has been in this system for a long time, going back to New Mexico State. He has more experience, maybe not game experience as much. Jared Curtis has no game experience. So I understand why that would make sense. Blaise Berlowitz maybe can keep the ship afloat better than Jared Curtis would going through all these firsts. But you look and see some of the things that Jared Curtis did when I was out there in the spring game, the scrimmage on Saturday. There are some plays out there that Jared Curtis can make that Blaise Berlowitz can't. So I think it's weighing the ceiling versus the floor based on who you think is going to give you the best chance to win.
Blaise Berlowitz did throw a touchdown pass versus Virginia Tech, did he not?
Man, I forgot that was him.
Yeah. I think to Stowers.
I think you're right.
At the end of the game.
Yeah.
Just to boost the score margin a little bit.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That game, it was so funny. Me and you at halftime of that game, Tech was up, what?
20-10.
It was up 10. And we were kind of having the conversation of they can get back into this, and just flip switched, and you're playing the backup quarterback at the end of the game.
Someone came into our booth basically saying they had talked to the Virginia Tech analytics people and said, it's going to flip. For whatever reason, there was just the way that they had looked at that first half. Like Virginia Tech had played as good of a first half as they possibly could. Vanderbilt was not necessarily on its mark just yet. Diego Pavia had thrown a pick, and it was only a 10-point game.
Yeah.
And the analytics people at Virginia Tech were like, look out.
This isn't going to be a fun second half.
Look out. We'll see which way it goes. And then they ran the football and just punched Virginia Tech in the teeth. And it was basically the third quarter, which is what Vanderbilt did to Tennessee at Neyland too.
Yeah.
That game totally flipped in the third quarter when the commitment to running the football kind of got entrenched, which you asked me about the quarterback. I could say something painfully simple, and I will probably say it a bunch on this station during the broadcast, which is if Vanderbilt can defend and run the football, it changes everything for the 2026 team. In part because of how much that helps whoever the quarterback is.
100%.
Blaise Berlowitz, Jared Curtis, and Clark acknowledged it's those two guys competing on Saturday too. And you've got what I think are perhaps just a couple of the most dynamic running backs possible in the league, which is Cedric Alexander and MK Young. Like they've got both the ability to change games. MK, I think, had 3 60-plus yard rushes last year, including a huge one that changed the game versus Missouri.
Yeah.
And Cedric Alexander ripped off the long one versus Alabama, and nobody has more snaps at the running back position in all of college football coming back than Cedric Alexander. Cole Kubelik always makes this point, and I'll keep saying it, that one of, if not the most underrated players in all of college football is Cedric Alexander with what he does in every area of the game. He can catch the football. I think had 6 or 7 catches versus Bama back in 24. He can run the football. He's got 21 career rushing touchdowns, which is third most in Vanderbilt history. And he can pass block too. Like he is not afraid to stick his nose into the belly of a defensive tackle and push him back. And he's strong enough to do so. That's going to help everything offensively, regardless of whatever direction the quarterback, because whoever it is going to be new.
Yes.
Not necessarily in the system, but is going to be on that field in a different role for the first time versus whoever it is going to be. And you help those people out by running the football and playing defense. You want to help out your secondary? Rush the quarterback with 4 down linemen.
Yep.
And not need the blitz. You want to help out your pass rush? Have great secondary that can hold up in coverage.
Yep.
Right? So you talk about positions, and obviously the quarterback position is what it is. It gets paid that way in the NFL for a reason. But it's still a team game. And all 3 levels defensively help each other out, so on and so forth offensively as well.
And I think we've seen with Tim Beck that he is very capable of maneuvering his offense to get them in the best situation to succeed based on the personnel. Like we talk about it all the time with the Titans of last year and the year before. Brian Callahan was going to run his system no matter who he had out there. It was his system, and it didn't matter what the personnel was. With Tim Beck, you saw it 2 years ago. Diego Pavia wasn't as polished of a passer. He could do it, but they ran more of the option style offense because that's what best suited the personnel they had. Last year, Diego Pavia was a much more efficient downfield passer. You had weapons like Eli Stowers and Trey Richardson, and so they leaned more into that. I do think you can believe Tim Beck is going to put this team in the best situations possible to help out whoever the quarterback is. And you're right. It starts with that really strong running game that you already have coming back.
Tim Beck is egoless with his system, right? He doesn't care. Like if he needs to pull string A to find success, he'll pull string A.
Yep.
If he needs to pull string B or whatever, he's going to do that, which sounds simple. I don't think that exists in totality in coaching and for anybody in any field, anywhere. Like if you have come up under one structure and you know that this works, it's really hard to break away from what you know works.
Yeah.
But Tim Beck has so much experience as an offensive coordinator, and probably what I think it's undervalued in his resume is how much time he is spent as a head coach, because he knows how his play calling impacts special teams and how his play calling impacts defense too. Like you and I were standing at the scrimmage, and it was a fun moment. Like he called Blaze Berlowitz over after a play. It was like a 3rd down and 10, and Blaze scrambled and
from
picked
their
up,
own one.
Right. And picked up like, I don't know, close to a first down, but not a first down. I guess Blaze contends that he got the first down because it's a scrimmage and it's, the tackling rules are a little light. But anyway, Clark's point was basically your decision there to make that play changes the punt formation that we're in. And Tim Beck, right, you go from needing max protect to having a more traditional punt formation, which is going to allow the punter to obviously find more success and flip the field better, which helps the defense out. Anyway, Tim Beck knows how to call plays to not only just put points on the board, which is at the end of the day the most significant thing that he has to do, but it's not insignificant how his play calls help a quarterback, help a running back, help cover up potential deficiencies that you might have wherever it is, to expose somebody else's deficiencies, to help special teams, to help defense, to help time clock score situations. Like that stuff is huge. And I think he was a semifinalist for the Broyles Award, Tim Beck,
I believe
a
so.
season ago. We'll see where the offense goes this season. They may not put up statistically the numbers that kind of force him into that conversation. Maybe they will. I don't know. But I think he's one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, again, because of that simple fact. He is egoless with his system and the number of stats that get put up.
And I think you make a good point about the complementary football, too, of just like,
it's boring stuff, man, but it matters.
The offense putting your defense in bad situations is how you get beat. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. If they're having to cover short fields all day long, eventually you're going to give up points. And I think that's that moment from Clark. We were wondering what he pulled Blaze Berlowitz over there to talk about. And then he said in the press conference, getting 8 yards and getting us out of the shadow of our own goalpost changes the way that we can flip the field position.
Yes.
And I thought that was it's something that a casual fan watching the game wouldn't think about. It's just like, oh, crap, we're punting. But the difference between being able to have gunners out there who can go cover the punt instead of having to have everybody in to protect, it makes a big difference for those teams.
I think there is so much that this coaching staff deserves credit for in totality, Jake. They deserve credit for things like flipping Jared Curtis from Georgia to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
they deserve credit for the big headline stuff, like Diego Pavia ending up as a Heisman finalist, winning 10 games. But then there's the granular stuff, like the way that they interact with each other, coaching staff, defensive coordinator helping offensive coordinator. They're also really, really good at end of half, end of game situations,
Right.
90% of the time. There are people on that staff that, look, they deserve a shout out because of the way that they help with this process. Ben Cawthon, Nick Valdesari. There's people that do unbelievable work managing the clock. I think, one of my favorite moments from last year was Diego Pavia's first down get down versus LSU.
Yeah.
Right? Like they knew in the huddle, and people should know this, right? Like I get if you're a high paid college football coach or a high school coach or whatever, you should be able to manage the clock appropriately. But we know how often that kind of slips through the cracks, right? They had talked about it in the huddle. Hey, Diego, if you get a first down here, don't score a touchdown. You slide down.
Yeah.
No more timeouts left for LSU. Ball game's over. Would it be more fun to win by 13 points or 14 points? Sure. But I just want to win the game. And there's people that manage that situation. The attention to detail, no surprise from Clark Lee with his whole staff top down, is really high.
Yeah.
So I just, there's a lot here that I think will allow Vanderbilt to sustain in a season when there's a lot of skepticism about what sustaining off of 10-2, 10-3 looks like.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. You talked about two big keys for Vanderbilt this year, running the football, defense. We talked about the run game. We'll talk about the defense coming up next, which returns a lot of talent, brings in some key players as well. We'll get into that. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Andrew Allegretta, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Andrew Allegretta, Connor Newt with you. Got a couple more segments on this Tuesday. We're talking Vandy football, Commodores, and Austin Peay. Just 2.5 weeks away at First Bank Stadium. Talked a lot about the offense. Quarterback going to draw a lot of the attention. And Clark said that didn't have an answer yet on Curtis versus Berlowitz after their scrimmage on Saturday. Another scrimmage coming up this week. Might have a clearer view of that. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think this unit can be really good with the returners they have coming back. We listened a little bit to Nick Rinaldi back on Saturday, who's coming back in that linebacker core, playing alongside Brian Longwell. A lot of experience there. You've got Martell Height back. You got CJ Hurd. You've got Miles Capers. Issa Wataha's back healthy. This is a unit that has a lot of experience. And like you said, if you lean on defense and the run game, I think that's going to be the recipe to win football games for Vanderbilt this season.
First off, great bump back track.
A lot of carry this morning.
That one's got edge.
Yeah.
That one's got edge.
We were talking earlier that Mike Fisher does need to be careful what he does, because
it's
Carrie's got some violent tendencies in her song.
There's a Miranda Lambert song that's got the same edge too. Gunpowder and
Lead.
Yeah.
I'll do some research.
Yeah.
You never heard that one?
Too.
Yeah, that one's
at like,
I mean,
you stop and listen.
You've got
because it's got some edge to it.
There are those songs that kind of allude to the violence, and then you've got like Earl from the Dixie Chicks, which is like Earl's gotta die, and like just flat out say it. So lots of, I mean,
that in a room full of Ella fellows here today, huh?
Yeah, Nick Frazier is our big resident
Ella fella.
Yeah,
huh?
Yeah.
I'm Ella fella adjacent, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I like her music.
Yeah,
I can't say that I've seen her in concert at all or anything like that, but I love Ella adjacent. I like that. That's where I'll stand too.
Yeah. Defense. We'll see. There's pieces out there for sure, which is, at this point in the season, that's kind of all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Is knowing that you've got the talent on the field and you've got enough experience to make it work, that you've got leadership on that side of the football, that you've got a really creative defensive coordinator, Steve Gregory. Issa Wataha, I think, is at the top of my list of most intriguing players, just because I think he's enough of a physical specimen to have an all SEC type season if he stays healthy. That's the whole thing with Issa, I think. Missed most of last season with a shoulder problem. Yep. He's super fired up to be back. But what is he? Like six? What is he listed? 6'6"? I don't even. I mean, we stood next to him for a second post scrimmage, and that is a large human being who can move other large human beings. And he's only been playing football.
He's listed at 6'7", 315.
Yeah, he's huge. And he's only been playing football since really like about 2021, 2022.
Yeah,
just because of his move from Germany to the States. You talk about a physical specimen with the tools that is kind of just learning how to play the game. I mean, I again, if he stays healthy, I don't know if he'll put up the stats because of the position he plays. Like, he's not an edge rusher who's going to go out and get 8-9 sacks in a season, which just pops off the page. But if he's in the backfield and he gets a lot of TFLs, I mean, I'm not saying he's having a first team all SEC performance this year, kind of, again, because of the position that he plays. But I think he can be disruptive enough where he's on some postseason lists, and he might start to get some NFL draft chatter. Now, I don't know where that, he just has the size that you would think scouts would want to have a conversation with him.
Yeah. And NFL scouts, they love the traits, right? Of like, hey, we can teach you to do the other things, but we can't teach you to look like that.
We need you to be able to hang on the field. The rest will try to coach you up.
I interviewed Femi Oladejo yesterday at Titans camp. I don't know if you've seen him. I felt about that big standing next to him. That is a physical specimen. And it's like, he hadn't played a whole lot of pass rusher in college, but they were like, we can teach him that. We can't teach him to be an absolute unit.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I Issa wasn't necessarily, he isn't one of those like freak show looking edge rushers,
but like,
again, huge, gigantic. And when you're on the field with other large humans and you look like the large human,
you're
the large human. So I think defensively he's got an opportunity to have one of those seasons where he ends up on lists. Martel Height has received a lot of praise from the coaching staff.
He looked good on Saturday.
Yeah, it's just that, he's one of those players that, talking with the coaching staff, he's always had the physical tools to be a really good corner, sticky in coverage and all that kind of stuff. But it takes time to learn the position, the technique, the fundamentals, all that sort of stuff. And it sounds like his technique is more honed in now than it has been in his previous couple of seasons. Not that he's had bad seasons, but again, there's just natural growth that happens with anybody in the game. So he's received a lot of praise about what he could be. The player that I have always been super intrigued with is Jordan Matthews, which I think we've talked about in the past. One of the corners, transfer from Tennessee, came over, was impactful last year, had coverage doubled with CJ Hurd on Cam Coleman on the final play versus Auburn. I think he probably has technique and fundamental growth. I think that is where his development and consistency is happening. But I was told basically, like, it's nice to have a guy on your roster that you can put on one of those freaky SEC wide receivers and he can hang.
Yeah.
And that's Jordan Matthews. If they are putting you on Cam Coleman on the final play of the game
in overtime
from the 10-yard line, that speaks volumes to what your skill set is. Now, can they just leave Martel Height and Jordan Matthews on an island?
Probably not.
Nah, I don't know. But knowing that your secondary is far more capable of holding up longer, again, just adds to the toolbox. I do think one of the players that they lost this past year that's going to hurt is Corday Sidnor.
Yeah,
I think he was a really good edge rusher. I can't remember how many sacks he had last year, 4 or 5, something like that. But he was pretty impactful for them. Like that duo of Capers and Sidnor off the edge, I thought was pretty impactful. And they're going to have to kind of see where that goes this year.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got the secondary that can hold up, you've got more experience at safety. CJ Hurd is back. You get Ricardo Jones, who comes over from Clemson, really, really talented player. You've got pretty good depth with, Dante Carter or Carson Lawrence back there, younger players that are recruits of your own. Jalen Lackey, I think, gets overlooked as a corner. Like, again, go back to the Alabama game in 2024. He did get beat, but he was matched up with Ryan Williams as a freshman.
He was 17. By the way.
He was. Williams was.
Yeah.
See, 2024. He is 19 now. Good for him. Is that right? Am I doing the math?
I assume
yet?
so. Yeah.
Sure. Whatever. That narrative was wild. I enjoyed when Sean McDonough would make fun of it on ESPN broadcasts.
Yeah. Well, Norm made fun of it a lot during that day.
We sure did.
Have you heard that he's 17?
Did you know that he's 17? I did, Norm. But Lackey was matched up with Williams in 24. That just means that he's got, again, athletic skill set and traits that can hang in different situations. I think there is a real potential the defense could be as good as it's been under Clark Lee.
Yeah.
And, I know Vanderbilt had pretty darn good defenses under Derek Mason, and guys like Zach Cunningham were running around, and, the defense was kind of holding that together while the offense tried to find its moments. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best defense since X, but I do think there's a really good chance it's probably Clark's best defense, which has got to make a defensive coordinator at his heart pretty darn happy about, again, the way that it interacts with the entire team.
And I think you're right. You got talent at all 3 levels. You got returning talent.
We didn't even talk about the linebackers, which is probably
might be the strongest
position on the field for them.
Right.
Bryce Cowan, you talk about, we can't teach you to have athletic gifts.
Yeah.
Bryce Cowan, I remember talking with Clark at one point about Bryce, and he kind of made the point that, like, we'll see where college athletics goes, but at the time it was, again, it's hard anymore to wait for the versions of Bryce Cowan out there. Like, they're gifted, they just need the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to wait anymore. Just the nature of college sports and what you need out of your players, and just kind of stashing a spot for someone that has a really long runway on their growth is harder these days. And Bryce is one of those guys. But aren't you glad that you've had the opportunity to build and grow under Coach Lazinski? You talk about another player that could come off the radar and have kind of an all SEC type season. Bryce Cowan is one of those guys, and he's made plays before. I think he's got a defensive touchdown from a couple of years ago.
I remember that. I forget who that was against. It was 2 years ago.
It might have been, was it the opener versus Virginia Tech? Or the second game of the season? Or
Seabrooks had the pick against Tech.
He did. It actually honestly might be 3 seasons ago, Jake.
Man, which is crazy.
It might have been the Hawaii game to open the season a couple of years ago.
No, I remember. Yeah, at home. That home one.
I don't know. Bryce has
I'll find it.
Bryce has a defensive touchdown because I can see him scoring.
Returned an interception for a touchdown against Auburn in 2023.
Okay.
On the road, I guess. Or no, at home. At home. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was a long roundabout way of saying that he's had his moments in the past, but his consistency at the linebacker spot and his athletic ability to be disruptive. And if you want to circle a couple of names that could come kind of from the back of the pack and have all SEC type seasons for this defense, to me, Issa Wataha and Bryce Cowan probably are on that list.
Yeah.
And that's not to shrug off what Nick Rinaldi can do. Nick Rinaldi led the team in sacks in 2024.
Yeah.
Do people know that? Like
I knew that having been around it, but yes, that,
you know what I mean?
It's shocking.
Did he play lacrosse? Like coming out of,
he's also a unit. Like seeing him up there at the press conference, I was like, man, that he's put some work in the weight room.
Yeah, and he's cool showing it off too, which bless. But again, that's not to shake off what Martell Height could do this season. It's not to shake off what Longwell could do this season. Rinaldi could do this season. Miles Capers could do this season with the amount of experience they have back. But if you're looking for sleepers that could have really loud seasons because of the physical skill set and just getting more opportunities, I would circle Issa Wataha and Bryce Cowan.
And I think that shows you the depth and versatility this defense has, because you can name off half these guys and say, hey, they could be in for a big year. It's just about seeing if they can do it.
And it's still SEC football, it's still college football, where we're not in 20 whatever year it was where Alabama and LSU are running up and down the field, 2019 and whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that version of college football anymore. Like Clark and Tim Beck have talked about the fact that possessions are down, and how do you beat explosive offenses? Well, you just don't give them the football.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how Vanderbilt found success in 2024.
Right.
Like number of possessions per game are down by like 2 from maybe 13-ish down to 10 or 11-ish offensively. So you're not trying to stop teams from scoring 50 anymore. You're trying to drag them from like, I don't know, in the low 30s down to the low 20s, which is probably the goal of this defense. Can you on average hold teams in the 20s, which then gives your offense some opportunity and time to grow throughout the course of the first couple of games?
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more segment with Andrew. We will wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Andrew Allegretta, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Here we go. Here's some Miranda Lambert. Gunpowder and lead.
Like, you listen to this one and you go,
Yeah.
right, I get it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like, it definitely makes you to stop in your tracks and just focus up.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. We're having a real conversation, Miranda.
Yeah. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. We are wrapping up the show. Been a fun hour having Andrew in, talking Vandy. We got a couple more minutes left, and Clay is called in.
Let's go.
Clay, what you got for us this morning? Good morning.
Jake, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Clay?
I'm doing good. Andrew, it's a pleasure to talk to the voice of the Commodores football and baseball.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to Clay.
I second what you said a while back about Cedric Alexander. That kid, I tell you, his athleticism is really what stands out to me. I mean, I can remember 2 or 3 times last year where he just leaped over guys when they tried to go low. I think, and I know I look through black and gold glasses probably as a big fan, but
Me too.
I think he's one of the more underrated players, not only in the SEC, but in college football.
100%. Again, it's because he has put up statistics as a running back. Norm's whole point on our broadcast is if the play can get you 7 yards, said he's going to get you 7 yards.
Yep.
Every single time, which is huge to be in 2nd and 3 instead of, 2nd and 13, because it could have had 7. You tried to turn it into 17 and lost 3. Like he's just rock steady. I was so happy for Seti versus Tennessee last year to get his first 100-yard career rushing game, which was awesome. Great moment for him. But he's a pass catcher too. I think Vanderbilt's offense is going to lean on Seti and MK and even some of the other players. Like Lassiter had that couple of huge touchdown runs last year.
Yeah, we went through it. He averaged like 20 yards a carry.
On like 9
carries.
Because all he was doing was ripping off 30-yard rushes. Now, the competition and the game time was different, but whatever. And you've got Evan Hampton, who got the shout out from Clark from the podium.
About him.
The freshman from Owensboro, Kentucky. You've got a deep room there. You got a block and you got a pat. Like, teams are going to challenge Vanderbilt to run the football. They just are, right? Like when you've got a new quarterback, teams are defensively going to challenge you to run the football successfully.
Right.
They're going to have to find a way to do that. And it doesn't have to be just turning and handing it off. You can use the short passing game and all that sort of stuff, but those running backs are going to be a major factor. And I sure hope that Seti has not just a great season, but like his best season ever, and finds himself on some short lists for all SEC performers.
And you mentioned Evan Hampton. Vandy football posted the clip from his touchdown on Saturday, which was kind of a cool connection, him and Jared Curtis. It looked kind of like a broken play, but they just kind of found a seam, and Evan Hampton ran up the sideline.
I enjoyed some of the social media response to that, which was effectively like, oh, you tried to hide who threw the football. Not really. Clark brought it up in the press conference.
Right, yeah, he said
had the connection with so anyway.
Yeah, no, Evan Hampton, I think that is the deepest room that this Vandy team has on offense, and I'm excited to see what this team looks like. I can't believe it. We are 2.5 weeks away from the opener. It sneaks up on me every single year.
It's the best. It's such a fun time of year, and whether it's on the field stuff or just kind of watching the buzz of the stadium, First Bank Stadium, everybody shows up, and whether you're a Vanderbilt supporter or something else, just to be able to put on your team's colors, what those mean to you. A football Saturday in the South is the best sporting experience in the world, from tailgate lots to the folks that listen to us, watch the TV, whatever it is. I'm so glad that kind of that community energy is back.
Yes, and we are getting close. First game, September 5th against Austin Peay. You can listen in right here on 102.5 The Game with Andrew, Norm, Kev, and the whole crew. When's the first Commodore hour?
The Monday prior.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I think that's the 31st.
So getting close.
Yeah.
It's almost here. Andrew, always a pleasure having you in, and we will talk soon. We'll talk to you weekly throughout the season, I hope.
Jake, it's a pleasure.
That'll do it for us. We will be back live tomorrow, 9 a.m. at Titans Training Camp. Corey Curtis will join us, but keep it right here. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next on 102.5 The Game.